So why Mr. Trump, or well in that case, US government is going so fast and furious in their strategic decisions and disruptive policies like tariff on various countries, huge tariffs, and big headlines like taking over Greenland, interference in China-Taiwan issues, then interfering in other countries' geopolitics, deals with Saudi Arabia, or well in that case Gulf countries, taking over Greenland, and various other disruptive decisions. So why all these things are coming in such fast pace? What is the real reasoning behind all these things? So let's decode it. If you see, US is a largest consumer based economy, and again the countries which are importing from US, they are imposing very large import duty, whether it is to take care of their in-house businesses, to reduce pressure on their currency depreciation, for various trade negotiations. And again, obviously, this is the taxation is a revenue for the government for the premium products, especially from US, and also subsidy balancing. Like US, many of the products, especially the agriculture-based products, are highly subsidized. And if there is duty free on that, no duty imposed on that, then the domestic market will be completely disrupted because of the competitive pricing. So to promote domestic companies and businesses, high tariffs are imposed by various countries for the US imports. But the real fact here is that as the midterm elections are soon here within 2 to 3 months, and this will impact the Trump governance and their sustainability going forward. The Trump government is under immense pressure to resolve all the ongoing issues in US and come out of it soon before these midterm elections. But then what are the major issues faced by the US economy? If you ask me, there are only major 4 issues. First is obviously the growing US debt, which is around $38.5 trillion as I speak and still growing day by day. Second is the growing inflation. Third is the US dollar reserve currency issue. And finally, but not the least, China. So US had petrodollar deal with the Gulf countries wherein they have promised that they will give military support to their oil reserves and the country's security, but then all the trades which are done in oil has to be in dollar. Recently there has been a dent in that, but still the petrodollar deal is in place. The only thing the US wanted here is that the crude oil is the main thing as far as the world trades are concerned, because everything including transportation, raw material costs, everything is dependent on crude oil, and the Gulf countries being the major oil producers, the trades if they are doing in dollar terms, the dollar will have its strong presence and dominance, which ensures US economy's dominance over the other global countries. The major trends here are the oil and AI. AI is mainly dominated by China because the data centers is required for AI. Data centers require chips, semiconductors, and the semiconductor requires rare earth metals, of which the 90% of rare earth mining and refining is in the hands of China. Also, the data center require heavy electricity to run. So the electricity is also 35 to 45% cheaper as far as the electricity production is concerned in China. All these things is supporting China as far as the AI dominance is concerned. So the other thing is oil. So US, especially Trump, is behind the oil. The recent Venezuela event in the past, the Saddam Hussein issue, all these things were Gaddafi and all in Venezuela were insisting that they will do the trades in the local currency of the various countries, and this will reduce the dependency on US dollar, and if the US dollar dominance is gone, then there is no more US. For Saddam Hussein, the US government got behind him, telling that he is dealing with nuclear weapons. In the case of Venezuela, he told something about drug cartel, but these are all hide-ups, and the major fact is he don't want any other currency to be dominating in oil trades, but just US dollar, so that their position is maintained. If you see, as I speak, the US is having the interest payment on his $38.5 trillion as something around $980 billion, which is close to a $1 trillion. So the spending of debt interest payment has exceeded the military spending as well. So this is a big red flag. So China is having complete control over TSMC Taiwan, which is the major semiconductor producer. Almost 90% of the advanced semiconductor chips is manufactured by TSMC. So China has clearly dominance over AI. So behind oil, the US is clearly behind the oil. Why oil? Because US wants the oil rate to be controlled by them, in fact to be reduced, because if the oil rates are high, then the transportation cost, the other costs increases, the inflation increases. If the inflation increases, then the Fed cannot cut the interest rates, and if the interest rates are not cut, then the debt repayment amount will be high, because if the loan rates are high, the US has to spend big amount on loan repayment. But if the interest rate is cut, for example, if 1% of interest rate is cut by US Fed, then almost $300 billion is the savings per year for US, which is a huge cut. So cutting the interest rate is very important for Trump. So Trump has been behind the US Fed chairman, but then the Fed chairman clearly told that he will not do this because the inflation is not coming down. So there were great issues between them as well, which you are well aware of. So now if the interest rate is not coming down, then US will have a default. Now the US dollar dominance is going down, in that the BRICS is coming up with new currencies, the unit and all. So if such de-dollarization happens and then the US dollar dominance goes down, then the US debt holders like China, Japan and other countries will sell the US bonds back to US and ask for giving back the money. Then if in that case US is not having enough money, he has to again float debt. But this debt is no more important because the US dollar dominance has gone down. So then in that case, he will not be able to repay, and this will lead to a great meltdown in US. So that is why whatever Trump is doing is to save the nation. Whether it is right or wrong is a completely different story. But then the steps taken by him under a very panic mode is only because he has very less time to prove himself, and the debt is so high that it is practically not possible to mitigate it without a US recession or meltdown. So now you know why Trump is in a haste with lot of strategic decisions and strategic policies and tariffs imposing on various countries. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Till then, happy investing.